password at the video via audio. Do not skip. Listen to get password. Download free ebooks MEGAPACK. Audiobook Academy. Book Summary. Aeneid. By Virgil. The 12-volume epic poetry Aeneid, written by Virgil, is one of his most well-known creations. Dactylic hexameters are used in the Aeneid. After the city of Troy was destroyed, Aeneas embarked on an epic trip, which forms the bulk of the story. Virgil hoped to highlight the magnificence of the Roman people and of Augustus the Great with this work. Legend has it that Trojans are the progenitors of the Romans who survived the fall of the city. This is Virgil's central theme in this epic poem. To this day, Aeneas is regarded as the patriarch of the Augustan clan. Despite the fact that Aeneas' story is a myth, the Italian Greeks insisted on believing it was factual for a long time. Virgil wrote it in his final decade of life. It was released 2 years after he had passed away. Imperial orders prevented Virgil's planned incineration of his writings, and the texts were instead published as is. Virgil was searching for inspiration and role models in Homer's works. First poem. When Aeneas was born, the goddess of love Venus gave birth to him. Because the Greeks had set fire to his hometown, he joined the other evacuees in fleeing. Jupiter instructed him to set off towards Italy, the location of his new country, in a fleet of 12 ships. The journey took 7 years to complete. In the course of the journey, Aeneas suffered greatly. A huge storm erupted as they approached the finish line at the King of Wind's command. Because Juno told him to, he issued the command. He was an ally of the Carthaginians and a foe of the Trojans, a defender of the latter. When Aeneas and the Trojans were caught in a storm, it was god Neptune who rescued them and sent them to the shore of Libya. The Trojans encountered a woman who informed them that they were in the vicinity of Carthage, the home of Dido, the queen of the Medes and Arabs. Because of Venus' intervention, Dido was able to fall in love with Aeneas. Second poem. As Dido prepared the food for the guests, Aeneas recounted the events of the Trojan War to her. Troy had been besieged by the Greeks for 10 years before the Trojans were deceived and the city was destroyed. This devastated metropolis was largely devoid of human life. King Priam was one of them. Seeing that Troy had been destroyed by the gods, he and his father and son decided to flee. Third poem. Aeneas recounts the details of his journey and the places he stopped at on his way there and back again. In the course of his travels, he tragically lost contact with his father. His encounter with Harpies and his friend Aeneid was described. Fourth poem. This is a love letter to Dido and Aeneas, which inspired the poem. In order to ensure that Aeneas remained in Carthage, Juno lent her support to their relationship. The lovers shelter in a cave during a storm and surrender to love's power. However, there will be some bumps in the road for their relationship soon. God Jupiter asks Aeneas to finish what he started, according to a messenger. Aeneas heeded his advice and began building ships. However, Dido needs to complete his job and convince Aeneas to stay with her. It was too much for Dido to bear, so she ended her life by jumping from a bridge. As the ship sailed away, she cursed Rome and Carthage as she died. She predicted that the two of them would have a bloody brawl. Fifth poem. In Sicily, the storm had carried the Trojans to the king, who waited for them there. Aeneas was getting ready to say goodbye to his father and conduct the funeral. The messenger is sent by Juno, the furious goddess, during the games. She persuaded the exhausted Trojan women to burn their ships ablaze, despite their lack of energy. To save 4 ships, Aeneas asks Jupiter for rain. Because of an impending fight in Italy, his father had warned him in his nightmares to leave all the women in Sicily. Sixth poem. As he arrived in the west of Italy, Aeneas was aided by the goddess Cybele in his journey to the underworld. In the shadows, he sees Dido's rage and bitterness, as well as the pain that the souls of the wicked are subjected to. He runs into his father, who taught him about the destiny of the Roman Empire, among the blessed souls. Aeneas departs and continues his journey on his own. Seventh poem. The Tiber River was our next destination. Aeneas approaches the king of Lazio Latinus for permission to start a new city with the help of his pals. His daughter Lavinia is promised to them by Latinus. To prevent the union, Juno persuaded Latino's wife and Trojan king Turnus to declare war on them. Even though Latinus intended to stop it, there was a conflict. The Etruscans participated in the Trojan War. Eighth poem. Tibernius tells Aeneas to seek help from Evander, the god of the river. 400 horses and their captain, Pallas' father, were in his hands. In addition to asking the Tyrrhenians for assistance, Aeneas also went to them. He ran upon his mother Venus along the road, and she gave him the Vulcan sword. Gods. The future history of Rome was etched into the sword. Ninth poem. Turnus was persuaded to attack the Trojans' hideout by a message from Junos. The fact that Turnus decided to sink their ships was evidence that they were attempting to flee the conflict. Boats were transformed into nymphs when goddess Cybele appeared. Password. Capital F, capital O, capital R, capital E, capital X, 111. However, Turnus is unfazed and continues the fight. The Trojans are on the lookout for Aeneas in order to inform him of the likelihood of their mission's demise. For them, it was a nightmare. These men perished, and the great conflicts proceeded in their stead. Turnus plunged into the Tiber when they believed they had him cornered and saved himself. 10th poem. God Jupiter was displeased with Venus and Juno for starting a conflict. After much consideration, he decided to let fate be the final arbiter of the contest. 30 ships full of allies arrive from Aeneas at the end of the battle. It is revealed that Turnus has been aided in killing Pallas by Juno. He lost his son to Aeneas, who killed him. 11th poem. The dead fighters were laid to rest during a 12-day truce. Aeneas was tasked by Pallas' father with exacting vengeance for his son's death. Despite Latian's best efforts, the battles continued unabated. Camilla, a close ally of Turnus, was soon slain in combat. 12th poem. Seeing that his time had come to an end, Turnus suggested that he and Aeneas fight it out in order to bring an end to their conflict. Although she had lost her influence, Juno persuaded Latinus to continue the battles. Turnus was killed by Aeneas. Juno's husband Jupiter comforts her by blaming her faith for everything that went wrong. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.